does compete for the iron. This is why carbon monoxide poisoning can kill a person, because it binds to that iron, and that does not allow for the drop-off of any oxygen to the tissues, and that can lead to death. All right? So, as a child, the fetal hemoglobin, it's a tad bit different, because as the child develops, talk about needing oxygen while in the womb, okay? It needs a very high amount of oxygen, and that hemoglobin can actually extract huge amounts of oxygen from the mother's blood. But that will reverse when the child is born, as will the blood flow for the lungs and so forth, because of the way that the fetus is developing. So hemoglobin is important. The structure of it is important. And one of the things that becomes important to make sure that we get in our diet is iron. Everybody in here get a sufficient amount of iron? Probably not, okay? Proper diets can even lack in iron, mainly because of the way that our food sources are nowadays. Don't get me started, okay? Sometimes you have to take an iron supplement. They even have iron that is prescription strength. So people that will have severe shortages in the blood, they can sometimes correct it with an iron supplement, or they may have to be given the prescription. Sometimes it is so severe they have to get an iron infusion, okay, which is done by IV. Now, iron, okay, the way that we get it, we have to eat it, okay? We have to take it in our diet. So, the two forms of iron are Fe3 plus or 2 plus. The job. Look at where this actual ability of the body to utilize the sources that we give it, it actually has to start in the stomach. The job of our stomach acid, convert the 3 to 2. So therefore, it's really cool what happens. The stomach actually produces a product, gastroferritin, that can bind the 2 for transport to the intestines. Why? Why do we have to, what becomes so important about getting our foodstuffs to the intestines?
So the rest of the body can use it?
How? What
absorption.
happens? And absorption. Now, what exactly does that mean for us? Have you ever gotten to dissect something and take the intestines out of it and cut them apart? Because, you know, they're like really squiggly, okay? Cut it apart, lay it out straight, and then just make a cut and open it up like a book. It's really cool, okay? Because that structure inside those intestines has all of these projections. It actually looks like fingers projecting into it. First thing that gives to the intestinal structure tons of surface area. And that surface area has a ton of vessels, arteries and veins. So our intestines, as materials move through the intestines, and remember, from the hormone chapter, we have to control their movement through the intestines, and this is the reason why. We're trying to make sure every nutrient, every mineral, every piece of that the body can use, all right, gets time to pass and be absorbed. So in the intestines, because we are in stomach acid, it gives help to the tube to get to the intestines, because from there, there's a protein. Do you guys remember me talking about transport proteins in the blood? Okay, we have a transport protein in the blood for iron. And its job, take it to, ta-da, bone marrow, because that's where we're going to get the production of that red blood cell. Liver. Huh. What might the liver have to do with it? Even though the liver plays a part in so many systems of the body, it will help with red blood cells if it has to. Now, the other part about it is any iron that's not going to get utilized, we've got to kind of store it just a little bit. And the liver is one of those areas. So, what the marrow will do, it'll take the iron that's in the form that it can be used and make my hemoglobins. Because what I want to do is create the molecule that's going to help to bind the oxygen. So, the cells of the body, we're going to find they make something called cytochromes. And that is used, now look at how important cytochromes are. Do you happen to remember those when you talked about cellular respiration? Cellular respiration and the production of ATP required the electron transport chain. Does everybody remember the electron transport chain? And then that final step of the electron transport chain was the production of the ATP and the use of the oxygen molecule. So it becomes important for the cellular level with the electron transport chain. Like I said, the liver will help us store anything extra. Chances are, though, we're not really getting all of it that we need. But if the liver has to do this, it has a protein called apoferritin. It makes a complex called ferritin, and when the iron is needed, the liver will release it based on levels in the blood. Now, you're asking, why is she concerned about this process? Why is this process clinically significant?
Anemia. Anemia, another deficiency.
Anemia. Anybody in here ever been told that? I'm anemic. What are some things that come along with that? Okay, could always be cold. The what?
Fatigue.
The fatigue. Hate it. Yeah. In the grand scheme of things, what is happening to the cells of my body?
Probably dying off quicker than they should.
Well, because we do have some that's going around, however, because I'm not getting enough oxygen to all of those tissue, all those cells that need it, that means that tissue doesn't get to function correctly. Which means, yes, we affect something of the organism. So, once again, clinical significance. Yeah, we've mentioned some of the symptoms, what can happen. Now, what about someone's ability to donate blood? They can't. If you are determined to be anemic, you can't donate blood. Could it be indicative of any other issues that might be going wrong in the body? Which ones? If we're dependent on the stomach to convert it and provide a protein to transport it, and then on the intestines where it's being absorbed into the bloodstream, and then if I'm dependent on the liver to be storing any extra, okay, are there now other tissues? Which one? It could be indicative of something that needs to be checked with the liver or the stomach. This ability, I mean, think about this for a second. In the grand scheme of the body, I have to have my blood flow with the red blood cell carrying the oxygen for any cell of my body to do its job. What are your thoughts on that?
It affects everything.
It affects everything. There's nothing it doesn't touch. If you don't have this process occurring correctly, getting the correct iron to attach to the oxygen to carry to the tissues. There is nothing it doesn't affect. Nerve tissue, muscle tissue, every tissue of the body. So, one of the things, if you get taken to emergency room or what, and some people even walk around with them. They're little pulse oxes. Put it on their finger. Check their oxygen level. Any of y'all ever gone to an oxygen bar?
Why does that sound vaguely illegal?
In some places it might be, but in some areas it's not. It's actually gaining in popularity because people are finding that when they go, and you're only allowed to, breathe it for a certain amount of time. Oh my goodness. When you get a saturated oxygen level, it's like the most wonderful feeling to the body.
It's like a lot of